Self-initiated briefs as a whole module has been very educational. I've learned a lot of new skills, and I'm going to detail my journey and highlights. Branding. My expertise outside of this module lie in logo design and branding. I really enjoyed taking on a brief that I created as opposed to something from a client. I typically find that these can often be too vague and makes the process much harder for me in the long run. My takeaway from this is that my discussions with clients need to be more comprehensive, and I need to ensure that I'm asking the right questions in order to help me build a stronger brief. Branding. These are the initial logo ideas that I came up with for Taboo. I sketched them out using a pad and paper, and then after that I inputted them into the computer. Using Adobe Illustrator, I was able to vectorize the initial ideas that I had and to see which worked digitally as well as physically. I then printed these out and went through and decided which would be better suited for the brand. After that, I went back to Illustrator and developed them further. From there, I developed them further again. As you can see, I've started to incorporate the idea of this speech bubble. So initially I explored how the letter T could look in different forms and explored different shapes and styles of speech bubble. I then had the idea of combining the two, as Taboo is obviously based solely around a chat feature. And so the idea of combining the speech bubble within the letter T felt like a really identifiable mark. I then added a pop of colour to the brand icons, using some brand colour exploration that I will go into further on in the video. I then experimented further with these different icons and switched out the colouring, trying darks and lights of the same colour purple, experiment with the orange and the dark purple as well. After that, I then had a look at different fonts and which fonts and font weights, as well as whether the font should be all capitals or lowercase, to see which would go alongside the icon that I've developed. And finally, you can see the branding for the Taboo app. So you've got a word mark, a word with the speech bubble icon. You've also got a submark, which is easily identifiable as Taboo. At the bottom, you'll see different colour variations and different coloured backgrounds. So another highlight of this whole module was the colour theory. I've obviously explored colour theory before as part of branding that I do outside of university. However, I had never explored it in quite so much depth as I did for this module. There can be so many things connected with colour and what responses they evoke in people. This has been crucial when designing the app across the whole of this module in parts 1 and part 2. So initially I started off with the colour blue. I pulled 5 different shades and hues of blue, and then had a look at brands that use blues across their identity systems and what good and bad points that blue represents. So blue is generally a calm and peaceful colour. It's very strongly associated within medicine. I think of the NHS here in the UK. It's associated with productivity. It's seen as stable and reliable. It's conservative and not threatening. However, as I said, it's used a lot in mental health apps. It's very corporate, it's a bit boring, and it's got strong association with sadness, which isn't ideal for a mental health app such as Taboo. So I then moved on and had a look at the colour green. Different shades of green, so we've got a very modern bright green in there alongside a really deep sort of classic green. This is obviously considered quite a lucky colour. It's very natural and organic, it's compassionate, it's safe, it's optimistic, it's calming, it can aid concentration. However, it has strong connections with envy, and it's also really considered environmental, which Taboo isn't an environmental app. Orange. Orange is an energetic, exciting, enthusiastic and warm colour that evokes happiness, optimism and is a stimulant. All amazing points that I feel should be connected within the Taboo app. orange partners very well with purple, as you can see in the FedEx logo. So I've decided to have a look at purple and what that represents. It's obviously a very spiritual colour. It's luxurious, it's compassionate. It can be sensitive, inspirational, creative, soothing. It's used a lot in things that represent nighttime. And obviously that's associated with having a calming sort of presence. So I then started to look at different shades and different types of purple that I could use across the app. And I started to build out a colour palette consisting of a couple of different colour purples, a gradient and some greys, as I felt that black was too morbid and white is too stark. I also had a look at green, however I've decided not to go with green and to incorporate the orange colours that I previously mentioned. So here you can see that I have now built the brand colours and the colour palette. I've given you the hex codes there. I've used the ideas of the purple as I like what it associates and represents. I've made them slightly brighter to make it more modern and stand out more. I've added the orange in because it's energetic and optimistic, and I feel that's vital for the brand of Taboo. The combination of these colours really cements the ethos behind the brand and the app, with a contrast between the dark and the light colours, and utilise an eye-catching and bright set of colours. I've also incorporated a gradient, which can be used in the backgrounds, and this has a really calming effect as well. So one of the main points of the whole module was the app. My main objective from this module on a personal level was to explore UI and UX design. This has been cropping up more and more over the years and is something that's completely out of my comfort zone as a designer. I had a lot of fun researching popular apps and learning what should be replicated due to muscle memory of users and intuition. I would be looking to explore this area of design even further as I progress with my career. So I did some initial sketches of what I would like my app to look like, but when I did some more research and developed these initial ideas further, I realised that the bottom toolbar was far too big and I was wasting a lot of space within the app. 3D rendering. As part of one of the lessons, I had to experiment with different ways in which to produce plans. I've always found 3D renderings very interesting and decided to take the opportunity to add another skill to my set. I produced this 3D rendering of how the website for the app could look, and I'm really glad I tried it as it wasn't as hard as I initially thought. I will be using Adobe Dimension to experiment with more mock-ups and renderings for my personal work from here on out. App mock-ups. I'm really proud of how the app design came together. It was developed and then produced. It looks professional and as though it could be a real app. I love the features and the usability of it, as well as the actual design, and I'm glad I decided to push myself out of my comfort zone with this. So here you can see the login and the feed of the app, the friends pages, the mood section of the app, which was we did a lot of experimenting with test subjects on how they would input their data, and we settled on a really simplistic 5 choices. When you select that choice, it populates the section of that represents today, and it just colours it in. And so at the end of the month, you have a full coloured in wheel, and you can go ahead and have a look at previous moods and previous months. And you've also got a streak count there as well, as this is an app that is intended to be used daily, and by seeing a streak count should help prompt that. So the chat side of the app was one of the key features that makes this whole app unique. You can chat to a friend or a professional, and you can see that there's trigger warnings at the top of the chat so that you can see, perhaps I shouldn't be talking about this subject with this particular friend. It may trigger them, and this helps people to turn away from topics that are perhaps not best suited for them. And that's the profile page. So this is where you can set your triggers. You can have a look at your streaks, your notifications, your announcements, your celebrations. You can also change a couple of settings, such as your username and password here. And here's a few app design mock-ups. You can see a notification here. And some more mock-ups. Website design. I do have experience with building websites, however the Taboo app website is perhaps one of the best I've ever built. I'm very happy with the way in which it turned out. It's clean, it's modern, and it has a lot of unique features in the way that elements pop up on the screen. It's definitely pushed the limits of my design abilities, and I will be looking to use some of these features going forward. So this is homepage of the website. This is the top section, so this is the first bit that loads when you have a look at the website. So it's just got a really simple call to action. There's no menu visible across the top, it's just a little button, and it's got a little video with some mock-ups as well. Section 2 of the website features a little bit more information about the app and the brand. Section 3 goes on to detail even more features. Section 4 is another call to action at the bottom of the page. And then you've got the About page, which tells you the background of the company and why the app came to be, as long with some statistics that back up sort of the vision. So here's one of the app feature pages. This is the instant chat feature, as that's sort of integral to the whole function of the app, and it just tells people a little bit about the instant chat feature and how it works. So one of the other points that I really enjoyed doing on this module was the marketing strategy. I work closely with a marketing expert on my own marketing, but it was interesting to research into it in a little bit more detail and then create a hypothetical strategy for the app. This is now something that I feel way more confident in doing myself, and I understand a lot more of the terminology that I'll come to use with my partner. So in conclusion, this module has taught me a lot of useful new skills that I can take with me into real-world situations. When I started the module, that was one of the points that I wanted to achieve, and therefore it has been successful. I've really enjoyed being tested and pushing myself. It's too easy to get complacent and stick to what you know, and this has proven that I can achieve anything if I put my mind to it.